Hi, Jeremy.
Anyway, all right. Anyway, god damn it. I hate that like Brandon says anyway so much that anytime I say anyway, you guys start saying, oh, it's just like Joe Biden. I say anyway a lot. Okay? I say anyway a lot. Anyway. 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 Here's the 3-minute ad right now. Anyway. 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 Anyways. Anyway. 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 Everybody, love you all. It's an honor to be able to serve you 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour for so many years. Hello, hello? Oh, God. Oh. I have to fix something. Hold on. David, you fucking cooked me so hard, dude. Oh. Bro, how do I turn off? Hello, hello? Oh, wait. Maybe it's fixed now. I think it is fixed. All right, it's fixed. Okay. All right, bye. No, it's okay. Bye. It's all right, bye. Oh, my God. Okay. We're back. We're fixed. It's fine. What a great way to start. Camera's busted. At least this camera's busted. This one is not busted, but the other camera is busted. And great way to start the Monday show. It's fine. We had still kind of loud mic gain. Too much gain is peaking. What the hell is going on, dude? I don't know. Oh God. I gave David the reins, and you know, he just he did a lot of stuff. I lowered the gain. Is still blown out? Is still peaking a little bit? Fuck. How does this happen every time? It's fine. It's gonna be okay. All right. The volume is at 33. I don't know why the gain is so explosive in general. It's peaking a little bit, but it's not wrecking our ears. No, but I can see it peaking. I definitely can see it peaking, and I'm not even yelling yet. So I don't know why the mic is so loud. I'm gonna fix it. But I think this should be fine for now. This is good. I think this is good. Do not listen to any other chatters as normal. Okay. You should turn capitalism to solve your problems. Yeah, it's not happening. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs, we're back. We're live. We're alive. There was a little bit of a brief hiccup there, as you guys, as you guys just saw. But it's all good. I think it's fine now. I believe it's fine now. It might be a little quiet, and I will fix it. I will fix it as I go along. I think I'm monitoring it over here on my end, and I will Move it along. Mic is fucked. Mic is fucked. Mic is fucked. Okay. Folks, this is part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news about what's going on in the world of Hasanabi Piker in between the time period where I press the stop streaming button and press the start streaming button. But basically what ended up happening is yesterday I didn't stream. And the reason why I didn't stream is because I did a merch shoot. New merch is coming out soon. This is one of them. This is one of the pieces. You're like 1 second audio video. What do you mean? Well, I don't know what that. Audio's perfect. Oh yeah, your cam's lagging and choppy. Wait, really? Is it? I can't tell if you guys are like being serious or not, because here's the thing. Yesterday I didn't stream, and when I didn't stream, I foolishly said, yeah, of course, David, go ahead, do whatever you want to do on the PC. It was fine. Everything was fine. I don't know what I thought he was just simply moving the cameras a little bit to make sure that they were placed properly. Didn't realize that he was also doing some other stuff. And that's the reason why I'm late, as a matter of fact, because I spent most of the morning trying to tweak the camera. This one is actually 30 FPS, yes, and this one is still fine. Like, this camera is fine. And I'll probably be using this one for the time being because the other one is blown out. And hold on. I'm gonna fix it. But for the time being, this is what we got. Okay. For the time being, this is the camera we have. I don't know why it's also like, weirdly enough, it's tilted. Fuck. Yeah, but this is what we got. Azan, I'm sorry I had the Theo Von podcast going in the background since you asked us to set up AI view bots. I'm doing all I can, but it seems Candace Owens is just more clouded. What AI view bots? What are you talking about? Since you asked us to set up AI view bots? Yeah, okay, dude. Good meme. I know you're joking, but like there's genuinely people who will take that seriously and be like, Hassan is setting up AI view bots. Like as if I would know how to do any of that. But yeah. Yesterday I took the day off, and in the process of taking the day off, I did a lot of fun stuff. Okay, one of the fun things I did was a TikTok. I'm a TikToker, as you guys know. I went on Tara Yummy's YouTube show. It's gonna be out in like 3 weeks. However, it's not gonna be out yet. But I went on her YouTube show. Stuck in the car with Tara.
Step one.
And then I learned about what it is to have Tara Yummy mindset, which was huge. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what Tara Yummy mindset was, and I learned all about it. And this apparently is Tara Yummy mindset.
One. If you want to be Tara Yummy, you have to think like Tara Yummy. Tara Yummy is a mindset. Step one. If you want to be Tara Yummy, you have to think like Tara Yummy. Tara Yummy is a mindset.
Yeah, that's what it is. We also shot like a kooky ass crazy TikTok on her end, but then I think she archived it because it got restricted because it was a dangerous activity. But I'm sure you guys have probably seen it because it was all over. It was all over Twitter. So. Yeah, this is I was being a silly, goofy guy. That's right. This is what I did. Apparently, this is a TikTok trend, and we did it. Was it due to the guns? No. I mean, this is the TikTok trend that we did, but here, this is what it was. Yeah. It's just funny because like I also failed to catch it and flip it fast in the fastest way possible. It got flagged for dangerous behavior. So I think she just like archived it or something. I don't know. So she doesn't get blacklisted. Oh, you mean Guns is in My Arms? Oh, yeah. Okay. And we shot the Fear End episode. Obviously, you guys can go check that out. It's live already. It's a really good one. It's a really good banger. I think we realized that we need female energy on the podcast. Without Cutie Cinderella, we are nothing. I really miss Cutie Cinderella, obviously, for other reasons beyond the podcast as well. But it was just yeah, here it is. Tariemi learns way too much about us. And that episode is out. It's great. Austin with a female guest. Like, I think the dynamic changes quite a bit when there is a female guest. And I think that's why it was so great. So Cutie last night says she's coming back soon. I don't know about that, but we'll see. But you just realized you need female energy on the pod? No, I know we need female energy on the pod, okay? We need at least one girl and one gay. You feel me? We need one girl and one gay. Like, it doesn't work. When it's just like me and Will with other dudes, like, it doesn't have that same energy. But having said that, it was a great episode. I took the day off. I had a great time. Did a little bit of self-care. My weekend so far has been really awful on the diet side. I posted about this on my Instagram as well, but I feel like I'm gaining weight. I'm getting fatter, which is not good. I'm definitely getting fatter. And I'm worried about that for sure. I mean, this is like, I'm getting fat. I ate 2 burritos. This weekend. I ate 2 burritos this weekend. I had 2, not 1, but 2 cinnamon rolls this weekend. And it's not good. It's not good at all. I need to lock in, okay? I need to lock back in. I'm losing my 6-pack. I've already lost it. But the worst part about it is with the bulk, normally when you bulk, you at the very least get stronger. I feel like I'm bulking and I'm not getting stronger. So I got to fix this. I got to fix the situation. I don't know what it is. This is what the Mavs were saying about Luka. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm feeling like Luka. Put back on the Mountain Dews? Yeah, no, dude, that's not the problem. But I certainly need to work on this. This was also crazy. Oh, I saw this youngest Hasanabi head in the building. That was crazy as well. By the way, is Twitter down or is it up? What's happening? Like, it was down for most of this morning, and I think it's fine now. Speaking of Stavi Baby, he'll be on the broadcast this week some point.
Post for me.
Like, that's so sick. I can't believe I have grandmas, man. We got grannies. We got grannies with the off-brand Hassan Piker merch, which is crazy. I didn't even know that this merch existed. It's like, youngest, you mean oldest? No, that's the joke, chatter. Like, my youngest fan. This is how it, as in implying that my fans are very old.
Slim thick, no tummy. I'm too bad.
But yeah, I love it. From one Hasanabi head to the next, you know what I'm saying? Can you tell Marsha the Patreon it was taken down? Wait, what? Okay. I don't know, but sure. Why am I... Okay. He'll fix it. 1% of the 1%. There was a 13-year-old at the Stavi show last night with their divorced parents. That's pretty funny. Late response, but come on, homie. Abs or no abs, you're still strong, dude. Abs happen if you have like 9% body fat. No, abs. The way I consider abs is fine. Is like at like 13% body fat. I'm going up there right now. I'm at like 15, 16 right now. I gotta. Oh, okay. There's some. Patreon will be up soon. Okay, calm down. But yeah, it's not an issue. What else? What else did I do? I played some Kingdom Come. It was awesome. That's why I did. Also, the market is down. Market's going crazy. It's in the pooper. We'll obviously be talking about that today. And we'll be talking about a lot of other things that are happening as well. There's a DDoS attack potentially on Twitter. We'll obviously be talking about the Columbia University situation, which is, I think... I mean, we're there. We've been there, but this is full tilt fascist behavior. And obviously, there's, it must be talked about. But before people go, oh my God, like fascism has been here already, Hassan. Like, I know, dude. I know. Okay. This is a new level, though. They are definitely leveling it up. They are definitely leveling it up. So we'll talk about that. Sam SEDER on Jubilee. Obviously, that's been all over my Twitter, and I've been avoiding it like spoilers for a TV show, basically, because I want to watch it with fresh eyes. So that's something that I'm excited to watch. And we'll also obviously talk about the insanity that's happening right now with the White House as well. Trump admin moves to denaturalize green card holder Columbia student activist for Israel. American citizens are literally less valuable. Okay? American citizens are less valuable to this administration than Israel's feelings. I need you to understand. Stock market crashing. There's just everything sucks. Everything sucks, and this government is going to keep doing things. Everything sucks, and this government is going to keep doing awful things over and over again without learning any lessons, I think. So that's where we're at. Also, yeah, Canada Liberal Party. That we could talk about that as well. I mean, there's just so much to cover. I'm just getting in it. I'm just getting into it. Get in now. It's Monday News Day. Can you stare into my soul? Sure. Show.tv/Hasanabi. Do we have a blast off meme or not? My conservative mom just told me you didn't know. My conservative mom just told me, did you know black people are actually overrepresented in our federal government? Lamau. Nice. Is that why they're trying to fire black people from the federal government? Is that what's going on? What is this? Misgive. Hassan, I fucking hate Trump. Hassan, I fucking hate Trump so much. Hassan, Trump is the worst president in the world. I fucking hate him. I mean, there's been worse presidents, for sure. There's been worse presidents in America. I would still say George W. Bush was worse than Trump, but Trump is getting up there. I think Trump is certainly getting up there. It's pretty impressive to be worse than George W. Bush. We'll see where he goes. I mean, we'll see where he goes from here on out. But I'm down so much money. Oh, you're mad because he's cooking you in the stock market. Yeah, those are considerations I do not have. I don't know anything about stonks, and I don't really care about it that much. But yeah, I mean, if rich people get mad, if Trump is cooking rich people, then, his time on this earth is not long. You feel me? Because like a guy like Misgive is a perfect demonstration of a person who just doesn't normally care about politics all that much. You know what I mean? But he cares about his money. He cares about his stocks. And if his stonks are not doing well, all of a sudden he's like, what the hell is this? That's the whole point, right? You came in here to fix the stonks, to make the stocks go up. That's your job. Get to work, rich man. When the line goes down, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Line's not supposed to go down. It's supposed to go up. But, you know, not financial advice or whatever, but, you know, you got to buy the dip, right, guys? Anyway, I don't know anything. Don't listen to me. What's awful is all of us have small amount of retirement. We have crashing to zero because we're all on 401ks. We're lucky enough to have one. I know. I mean, it's just like, I don't know where to begin in terms of like Donald Trump being horrible. Okay. Miskiv has made the best investment he could ever make, though, which is subscribing to me for $6 or for free with the Twitch Prime. You can do either or. Okay. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Congratulations to Miskiv for subscribing. In spite of the fact that his stocks are not doing well, he still apparently has enough disposable income to be able to make the greatest investment of all time, which is to subscribe to me. Hold on one second. Opa. Oh. That's the shirt, by the way. Did you say oppa? I did. Turkish people say hoppa. If you tell me not to listen to you, then do I not listen to you by listening to you? Holy conundrum. I mean, listen to me on politics. Don't listen to me on freaking, I don't know. Make it a baby tea. So I'm not doing baby teas this time, but we do have girl teas coming out. A lot of you have been complaining about girl teas. Not having girl teas. So we heard you. We have some teas for the girly pops as well. Like you can get a girl size as well. And then maybe we can do baby teas next line. Baby teas and baby pink. What about kids? You read my mind. No, when I say baby tees, that's not for like actual babies. It just is a style of t-shirt. It's not literally for baby. I don't think it's for babies. Are babies supposed to wear baby tees? No, right? Like it just means like it's like a crop top. All right? That's what it is. Please, I need a onesie. Okay, you are literally not a baby. I can't get you a onesie. We're not doing a onesie merch. If anything, like I've been meaning to do like something cool, something different. Problem is, like, obviously, we're very limited in what we can manufacture with union-made, American-made products. They just simply don't make a lot of stuff beyond what you see. So I've thought about working with a non-union shop potentially. Still American made, obviously, but that's the situation. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see where we like if there is. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I've said this before. If there's like a cool thing that we do, like it'll still be. The bulk of the stuff, the t-shirts and whatnot, will obviously still be unions, but bro, I would turn in my toddlers to the youngest Hasanabi heads. What would be the Hassan meets is my idea. Do you F with it? Do you fuck with it? Yeah, I do. Yeah, Hassan meets. What is this? You and Nev could do this in front of 10K people for charity? What? I don't don't know what this means. It's just me and nephew shooting 3-pointers. Nah, don't do it unless it's extremely cool. Fuck non-unions. Okay, everybody calm your goddamn titties. I haven't even done it. I'm saying, like, I might work with a local manufacturer potentially. If we were to do something. If we were to do something that I hate this fucking community sometimes. It's like, it's literally, they're doing thought crimes already. God, it's, brother, there is no union shop that does manufacturing for, like, I don't know, jewelry, for example, okay, at the level of inventory that we need, because you guys buy too much, okay? So if that's the case, like, and if I were to do jewelry, for example, I might have to work with an American shop that isn't unionized. That's it. That's all I'm saying, but I'm not even doing that yet. I haven't done it. Everything is still American made, union made. Okay? Calm the fuck down. I'm saying that if there was ever an opportunity for something cool that beyond like t-shirts and long sleeves and things like that we put out all the time, you know, we might do it. Just to do like a one-off. At what point do you look at your demand and limited union supply considering starting your own printing co-op? I don't mean this in a scoldy way. I was just curious. No, it's something that I've put zero thought into because I would rather never make fucking merchandise ever again than to start my own garment manufacturing shop. That is an entirely separate world. That is something that would take a shit ton of time and effort and knowledge. These are not things that I know. These are not things that I'm good at. I'm not good at being a boss. Okay? Which is precisely the reason why I will not be doing that. Okay? I will never do that. That is craziness. All of these other content creators that do stuff like that do not have the same moral considerations. Not to say that they are immoral in general. I'm just saying that their moral considerations are different than mine. Okay? That's it. Like content creators who are capable of setting up manufacturing facilities and whatnot are able to do so because they are able to, you know, they work with overseas manufacturing and they have people that they hire to like handle all this stuff. I'm not going to be able to do that on my own. It's like demanding that I own a factory. If it's a unionized co-op model, it could be your way of changing the systems. Brother, Megaphonics, do you understand the level of time consideration, like the time and effort that takes to build not just like a fucking unionized co-op model, but just like any? Like, do you... Oh my Lord. Y'all are crazy. You need to ignore chat sometimes. Favorite it up. Thank you for the 69 gifted subs. Yeah, just build a factory. Just purchase a factory, build it, make it a cooperative. Like I'm not saying it's impossible to do. It certainly is possible. But if I were to do it, I would have to stop everything else that I'm doing and just only do that. You know what I mean? I would have to stop to become a titan of industry. I would have to literally drop everything that I've done thus far and only focus on that. It's a possibility. People can do it. I'm just saying that I'm not very good at that. So obviously I'm going to continue doing what I'm good at, which is this. That would be some pretty sick IRL content. Okay, guys, you don't know anything about content creation. Okay. I'm sorry. No, it wouldn't. No, dude, it would not. Okay. You're just fucking wrong. All right. I literally. Yo, it would be so sick if you went to the factory and you streamed the process of you doing paperwork and managing people. That would be so sick. I would watch the heck out of that. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't even watch that if it was like in a video format on YouTube. And I'll tell you why I know. Because there's plenty of fucking videos like that on YouTube right now. And I'm certain that you haven't watched a single one of them. At most, you'll watch one TikTok from a Chinese factory talking about how like they are the #1 at industrial glycogen or whatever. And that's it. All right. You underestimate our artistic powers. No, I just know that that's not good content. I know what good content is. I think I have a pretty decent nose for what is good content as far as making something that is otherwise considered very boring or maybe even hard to grasp as palatable as possible. I do that every day. I do that for 8 to 10 hours every single day, as a matter of fact. And that's why I do what I do. I know what's good in this field, in this very specific, very niche field. You know, I am going to keep doing that. All right. So we're obviously going to get to what the hell is going on with the Trump administration. We're going to talk about Khalil, the Columbia University student that is, that story is the main story for today. Hex Babe, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. I think it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying that the Trump administration that signaled that they would do such a thing, which is the denaturalization potentially of people with citizenship, people with like proper paperwork, are doing that at the behest of Israel. And it is shocking because it's like a very similar McCarthyist rule that unironically was used against Jewish socialists and communists quite frequently. And now it's like being used against people who speak out against Israel. And you see like Jewish and pro-Israel organizations just like championing this. And it's really gross. It's very scary. It's very bad. We're obviously going to talk about all of that. But let's start with Elon Musk revealing that X is under a massive cyber.
Hey, this just in, John, if you're having issues on X today, perhaps you are at home. I certainly have been today. Apparently there is an outage, and Elon Musk now says that a foreign actor might be responsible for this. This is what he wrote. He says there still is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group and or a country is involved. So some serious allegations.
What's really crazy about this, I think, is that remember how I talked about liberal run Twitter versus Elon run Twitter and the significant differences between the two, and how liberal run Twitter wasn't great. Maybe there was some bloat. There wasn't the best moderation, but at least it like kind of worked. Versus Elon run Twitter on its bare bones does not work at all. Running on a skeleton crew. And how I always used to use that as an analogy for what happens when the Democrats run the country versus when the Republicans run the country. As you guys know, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the Democratic Party, right? That much is clear. I am very critical of the Democratic Party, as a matter of fact, on a lot of issues, especially when it comes to foreign policy and even on domestic affairs. Having said that, while the Democrats also suck, at least there was a degree of competence within the federal government, within the way things work. Whereas when Republicans come in charge, they basically break everything. They're like, no, we have no care or consideration for the welfare of American citizens, we're just going to brick it. We're going to break it. We're going to take a hammer and just like start slamming it on the federal government, the administrative state, and we're going to pick apart the scraps and strip it. Basically engage in copper stripping to the best of our ability, like a bunch of crackheads, and then steal what remains of the federal resources at the behest of the wealthy. Why am I talking about this analog, though? Because if under Elon Musk's leadership, if Twitter is constantly breaking all the goddamn time, shouldn't you be a little worried that this guy is now in charge of the administrative state? Like, in a very meaningful way. Shouldn't that be a point of concern? That's the way I look at it. I'm like, well, this guy seems to not do a good job. Okay. And it's weird to me that him not doing a good job at Twitter was that, paired up with $100 million in donations to the Trump campaign, was good enough for the Trump administration to go, hey, you know how you fuck Twitter up? We want you to do that to the federal government. I don't know. I'm a little worried. That's just me. If they can do this to Twitter, perhaps, what kind of cool things can happen at the federal government? Because the reality is, I do not have any confidence in Elon Musk. Is that simple? I do not have any confidence whatsoever in Elon Musk. I don't have any confidence in his leadership skills. I do not think that he is an intelligent person. I think he's a charlatan who has failed upwards. And I think that while massive cyber attacks do happen, I think his administrative and managerial skills certainly play a role in these sorts of things that happen frequently, being far more impactful than they should be. Okay? All right, hold on. Anecdotally, most Teslas I saw while walking around this weekend had posts on them with Elon doing the salute and saying to sell their cars or massive key scratches on the body. But yeah, Elon dick riders are losing their patience, says Themasius. It's true. Look at that. I think I'd rather be woke than broke. Turns out it was DEI or die. A lot of people kept saying, oh, it's DEI equals die. DEI equals die. No, it's DEI or die. Okay. That's what it is, baby. That's what it is. That's what's going on. It took them, being in the red for a couple months to finally come to that conclusion. But if you got Elon dick rider saying stuff like that, I'd rather be woke than broke. Then god damn, dude. God damn. Anyway.
Allegations there from the owner of X. Musk will be on Fox Business later on this afternoon with Larry Kudlow, hopefully with an update on what is happening there.
Well, that explains why my Twitter or my X wasn't working very well earlier today.
Israel has cut off electricity to Gaza. This affects the drinking water for the area. Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman is in Tel Aviv. Good morning, Matt.
We'll talk about this in a second. We'll get to this in a moment. Obviously, before we talk about like Israel doing Israel shit once again, they hit the genocide, do more genocide button again. Okay, they've decided it's time to do more genocide again. It's time to do more Israel shit again. Shutting off power to Gaza, impacting the drinking water in the area, and also shutting off last week humanitarian aid from going in as well. Israel's back at it again, doing the things that it was doing, surely for self-defense, of course. I mean, it's always self-defense. When is it not, you know? Putting on shirts like you got 126 on the TISM test, positive and amicable. Wait, what? Did I put the shirt on weird too? Like, what's happening? Wait, even the way I put my shirt on, you got issues with? It's crazy. What should I tell my younger family members who are on visas, green cards, and who want to still be a part of Free Palestine movements? I don't want them to stop, obviously, but I don't want them to get deported. I will talk about that in a second, but this is something that is highly illegal. What the federal government is doing right now is highly illegal, and I'll tell you all about it in a moment. But for the time being, let's continue talking about Israel doing Israel things in Gaza.
Hey, good morning, George. That's right. Israel cutting off power to the lone facility in Gaza that was still receiving electricity from Israel. It was a desalination plant that we're told provided water to thousands, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in central Gaza. And of course, this comes a week after Israel cut off the flow of aid and goods into Gaza in order to try to pressure Hamas to continue that first phase of that ceasefire deal, which exchanged hostages for Palestinian prisoners. That as today, negotiations resuming between all the parties in Qatar. But those negotiations are being overshadowed by those side talks that the Trump administration was having directly with Hamas. And this breaks a massive taboo. Never before has any U.S. administration ever spoken directly to Hamas. We understand Israel was not happy about it, but the U.S. envoy who was leading those talks, Adam Bowler, said he wasn't just trying to negotiate the release of that lone Israeli-American hostage, Don Alexander, but the release of all of the hostages. Robin.
All right, Hannah, thanks to you.
ICE agents have arrested a Palestinian.
So the reason why, I mean, they basically admitted it, which is interesting, but the reason why Israel is doing this is because they're upset with the Trump administration having direct conversations with Hamas. And the Trump administration's response to this has actually been less than kind. Surprisingly enough, while on the one hand, Donald Trump in the United States of America is actively bringing on the clamps for anyone that dare speak out against Israel. On the other hand, kill yourself, Hassan terrorist, Dick Sucker, says Nick KDV. Nice. Interestingly enough, you are saying this while we are, you know, when you put KY5, that people still understand, like the moderators, the administrators on this platform, another 2013 account, by the way, still recognize that you're saying kill yourself to a content creator. You probably will have your 2013 account banned every single time, by the way. It's almost always people that have been on this platform since 2013, like Justin TV accounts, and they just melt them for no reason. It's very shocking. I don't know why. In any case, like these aren't like young children. These are straight up people that have been on this platform and have been watching this platform for years and years and years. And then they just kind of throw their channel out there and get banned permanently from the website for telling a streamer to kill himself. It's very odd. Having said that, getting back to the story that we were talking about. So the reasons as to why Israel did this, of course, is because they're upset. They're upset with the Trump administration. And when Israel gets upset with anybody, including the Trump administration or the Biden administration or Hezbollah or anyone, they only have one note, and that is to directly attack a group of people that they have power over. They directly go to attack. Central Committee, thank you for the raid, by the way. Hope you had a good stream. They go and they attack the Palestinians in Gaza. This is exactly what happened with Iran, for example. When Iran would respond to Israel, Israel's response back to Iran was rather measured in comparison to the way that Israel behaved in southern Lebanon or Israel behaved in Gaza. Iran would attack Israel, and in retaliation for Israel attacking Iran, and then what would Israel do? They would turn around and bomb Gaza viciously, more aggressively than they had prior. Because their one speed, their one note is just always punishing. No matter what happens, they always get their licks in. They always punish the Palestinians. That's it. Why do they do that? Because they have purposely kept the Palestinian population vulnerable so they can do whatever they want to the Palestinian population, including, but not limited to, directly cutting off their humanitarian aid that the rest of the world is desperately trying to bring into Gaza, but then also cutting off their electricity like they have done this week. Now, the reasons as to why they're doing it is because of the anger and frustration that they feel towards the American government sidestepping Israel and going directly to Hamas to have talks with Hamas. Has any other administration directly communicated with terrorists? The answer is yes. I always thought it was we do not negotiate with terrorists. Yet this is the second time the Trump admin has publicly admitted to negotiating with terrorists. No, they do. It's ridiculous. The idea that we don't talk to terrorists is ridiculous. Oftentimes it's done through back channels. And the only reason why you heard about the Trump administration directly communicating with Hamas, okay, the only reason why you heard about it is because Israel leaked it. We are the terrorists. We don't care. What are you talking about? We're the arch terrorists on the planet. If you grew up outside of the sphere of American influence, your understanding of the United States of America is one that, you know, creates terror wherever it goes. That's the difference. A lot of people don't actually meet people from outside of the American sphere of influence, or more importantly, when they do meet people from the outside of the American sphere of influence, oftentimes those people are actually collaborators, or at least like, family members of people who have collaborated with the American government at a certain point. So they have a very different perspective on America. Obviously, they're here. So that's usually the reason why, you know, being here implies that they probably don't have as much anger and resentment towards America. So that will probably give you a very different perspective about whichever nation's population that we're talking about, one that you will not be able to get until you actually go there and meet the people. Okay? It's just kind of how it is. This is a generalization. This is not a rule, okay? I'm not saying that every single person who is of Vietnamese descent, for example, is directly in support of the United States of America, or every single person who's Cuban living here is directly in support of the United States of America and hates Cuba or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But if you're confused as to why, like, seemingly a big majority of these populations have an attitude that is like unconditionally pro-U.S., for example, or pro-U.S. foreign policy, especially older generations, that usually comes from the reality that when you come to the United States of America, that means you like the United States of America or its actions in your home nation. So, once again, still not a rule, okay? This is not a rule. This is a generalization that I'm engaging in that isn't necessarily always going to be correct, but I'm simply stating that, and there are multiple factors. There are multiple factors that also play a role in this, like assimilation, wanting to integrate as fast as possible, being victim to a lot of reactionary hate crimes initially, and in that process basically saying, no, you don't understand, I'm super pro-America, and just hamming it up, and then that becoming your front-facing policy, basically. There's also that side of this as well, because a lot of the people that come here, regardless of their background, do actually receive a lot of skepticism, a lot of criticism, and even attacks. Anyway, but I took a major sidestep here. Let's get back to the issue at hand. Here is a one-on-one with Adam Bowler, who is
Adam Bowler. Adam, thanks so much for joining us. Let's start on these direct negotiations with Hamas. First of all,
who is here to talk to Jake Tapper about the direct hostage negotiations that the American government was conducting with Hamas.
Obviously, controversial to directly negotiate with terrorists.
He's the United States envoy for hostages and has been given the rank ambassador by the president, Donald Trump. Adam Bowler, you might be shocked to find out, is first and foremost known as an American businessman and now a government official. Bowler started his career at Battery Ventures, a technology venture capital firm that focuses on investments in software and emerging technologies. He was an operating partner at Francisco Partners, a global private equity firm based in San Francisco, focusing on healthcare. Bowler founded and was chairman of Avalon Health Solutions. He has worked in the U.S. government from 2018 to 2021 on the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation. He was appointed director for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation at the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Then he did International Development Finance Corporation. On July 10th, 2019, the President of the United States announced his intent to nominate Bowler for the position of Chief Executive Officer of the newly formed U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, a government agency formed through the Better Utilization of Investments Leading to Development BUILD Act as a consolidation of the Overseas Private Investment Corporation and the Development Credit Authority of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, into one entity. The nomination was received by the Senate and confirmed unanimously by voice vote on 2019. He's done a bunch of stuff, including but not limited to trying to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative. And now he's back. He's back and he's doing the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs. The reason why I'm talking about this, of course, is because Jake Tapper is interviewing him on why he is talking to the why he was talking to Hamas directly, but also not necessarily a bad thing, okay? Just letting you guys know. Trump administration talking directly to Hamas is not a bad thing at all. As a matter of fact, it is a good thing. It is certainly a good thing because the people that have spoiled all ceasefire conversations thus far are on the Israeli side. As a matter of fact, it's not even the Israeli hostage negotiators that are directly spoiling the hostage negotiations, as evidenced by the fact that the Israeli hostage negotiators will routinely come out and speak out against Benjamin Netanyahu. There is one primary party responsible for spoiling every single ceasefire negotiation and every single hostage negotiation. That man is Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu does have a broad mandate to do such things, certainly. Having said that, however, even the Israeli hostage negotiators are regularly saying, we do everything, and then we go back to Netanyahu, and he just says no. He adds new deals. He adds new spoilers, poison pill provisions over and over again, which is true. That is what has happened time and time again. Refusing to leave the Philadelphia corridor was a recent one that Benjamin has been holding on to as a poison pill provision over and over again. Anyway, so it's not a bad thing necessarily for the Trump administration to sidestep Netanyahu and directly talk to Hamas, especially because we still hold all the cards. Let's take a look.
Is reporting the top Israeli official, Ron Dermer, strongly discouraged you from talking directly with Hamas. He said it was a tense phone call. Tell us about that. Do you understand why Netanyahu, Dermer, others might be upset?
I do like that Jake Tapper is also kind of scolding him. Like, Jake Tapper, who hates Muslims, like just, has a virile hatred in his heart for Muslims in general, is supposedly the guy who is the smarter guy in the room, right? Like, the Trump administration is stupid. Jake Tapper is smart, right? And yet, interestingly enough, here he is seemingly scolding this person for sidestepping Israel.
I do understand. I spoke with Ron, and I'm sympathetic. He has someone that he doesn't know well, making direct contact with Hamas. Maybe I would see them and say, look, they don't have horns growing out of their head. They're actually guys like us. They're pretty nice guys. So he doesn't know me, and there are big stakes. He lives in a country where if it sets certain precedents, then it will hurt.
How dare you say Hamas is not having horns growing out of their head? Excuse me. Excuse me. You are not allowed to say these things. How dare you say such things? Hamas certainly has horns growing out of their heads, sir.
Or help a lot of other people. So I understand the consternation and the concern, and I wasn't upset. At the same time, we're the United States. We're not an agent of Israel. We have specific interests.
I mean, it's true.
At play, and we did communicate back and forth. We had very specific parameters by which we fell, and the reality is what I wanted to do is jumpstart some negotiations that were in a very fragile place. And I wanted to say to Hamas, what is the end game that you want here? Not the dream end game, but what do you think is realistic at this point? Because until we know that, it's very hard to reach some sort of truce or some sort of end to hostility. So in the end, I think it was a very helpful meeting. It was very helpful to hear some back and forth. But I think Israel knows walking out of that, you know, it's not like Hamas got the world because I thought they were a bunch of nice guys.
Right.
I don't know why he kept repeating in this interview that he thought Hamas were a bunch of nice guys, and then followed it up by saying, well, they didn't get the world because I thought they were a bunch of nice guys, like, you know, but they're not, you know, they're just people like you and I. That right there is an insane thing to say, okay? When I say that, when I say half of what he just said, people clamp on me and say I'm the worst terrorist-loving person on the planet. Now, it's interesting because this is the hostage envoy for the United States having this conversation on Jake Tapper. Now, he walked back some of those statements, for the record. Okay, of course he did. He immediately got pressured. But it's shocking to see, even on accident, any sort of level-headed analysis and clarity coming from the Trump administration. How is that even possible? I do not understand, especially considering that the Trump administration is doing a metric ton of evil when it comes down to any sort of pro-Palestinian sentiment coming out of college campuses, which I'm going to be talking about in a second, okay, which is, you know, some truly devastating things that the Trump administration is doing on that front, greatly undermining the American Constitution, and obviously we're not exactly too fond of that sort of stuff here, but I always maintain the position that there are things that work in America. There are some good things that the American government does, and the Trump administration is actively bouldering through the remainder of said good things.
How quickly could something come together in terms of this negotiation?
I think something could come together within weeks. I will say that I believe there is enough there to make a deal between what Hamas wants and what they've accepted, and what Israel wants and it's accepted. And I think I think there is a deal where they can get all of the prisoners out, not just the Americans.
So that was interesting, and Reuters confirmed Hamas held talks with U.S. officials about releasing Edon Alexander, a 21-year-old American-Israeli IDF soldier believed to be the last living American hostage in Gaza. Hamas political advisor Taher al-Nono said the discussions held in Doha were positive and flexible. He included talks on implementing the phased agreement to end the war. We informed the American delegation that we don't oppose the release of the prisoners within the framework of these talks, Nono told Reuters. Hamas spokesman Hazem Qassam echoed the same in his remarks to Al Jazeera Mubasher. We are ready to conduct a prisoner exchange process with new keys in the second phase in the agreement. We have no problem meeting with the representatives of the U.S. administration because we realize that it has the power to pressure the occupation. He added, we do not object to releasing Israeli prisoners who hold U.S. citizenship, but within the framework of a comprehensive agreement. Okay?
All prisoners.
Here it is. Speaking to Israeli media, here's what Adam followed through on, because he also spoke to Israeli media as well after this, and I think it's important to hear what he has to say to the Israeli media too.
Suggested exchanging all prisoners, and they suggested a 5-year to 10-year truce where Hamas would lay down all weapons, and where the United States would help, as well as other countries, ensure that there's no tunnels There's nothing taken on the military side, and that Hamas is not involved in politics going forward.
As you see it today, how close are we to see all hostages released?
I mean, if I want to be optimistic, I would think weeks. They suggested.
Hamas has said multiple times it does not seek to continue governing Gaza and would accept the Palestinian National Unity Administration to take charge or an independent body established in coordination with the Palestinian Authority, similar to the kind proposed under the Arab League-backed Egyptian plan. On the issue of disarmament, Hamas's position has been that it will not lay down its arms unless there is a competent Palestinian force that can defend the rights of Palestinians to self-determination. This is important to recognize as well. Okay? Just so you understand, they're not saying that they will like full blown just keel over and say, okay, Israel can do whatever it wants to us now, we're done. They're simply stating that they are perfectly willing and capable of laying down their arms and dissolving their political administrative state as long as there is a competent political administrative state led by Palestinians with a force. Obviously, because without force, without any sort of military, you cannot have any sort of sovereignty whatsoever, which is unimaginably reasonable. If you have any issues with that, I don't know what to tell you. You just want all of the Palestinians to roll over and go away, which is the Israeli position. The Israeli position literally is die. Okay? Having said that, while that is happening on the one hand, Adam Boehler obviously responded to the pressure that was coming in. The Times of Israel said, deal with Hamas possible within weeks, U.S. envoy Boehler says, but it's not like Hamas got the world because I thought they were a bunch of nice guys. That quote was obviously very shocking for a lot of Israel lovers, especially those in Israel, to which he responded with, I want to be crystal clear, as some have misinterpreted. Hamas is a terrorist organization that has murdered thousands of innocent people. They are, by definition, bad people. And as POTUS has said, not a single Hamas member will be safe if Hamas doesn't release all hostages immediately. It's quite difficult to understand exactly where these guys are coming from because what they say and what they do oftentimes is very different. This is something that we've found out about the Trump administration with tariffs. This is something that the Trump administration has done virtually every single day. They will come in, they will boulder in, they will say some insane stuff, they'll do mass layoffs, and then they'll go, oopsie, my bad, and then they'll try to restore it piece by piece. So Adam Boehler, I don't know how to say his last name, going and talking to Hamas directly is very impactful. It's very important, okay? It's unique, it's important, and it's a good thing that it's happening. On the one hand, him going to American television and being like, yeah, no, these guys are just normal guys. We're going to have to talk to them like it's crazy. That's also incredible. That's different. That is very different than the previous modus operandi of the American government. We've also heard this from my goat, Steve Goatkoff, as well. It is interesting that these guys are doing this sort of stuff, but then when pressure comes in, they turn around and they like kind of scale it back with their statements. But focusing on the statements alone will not allow you to understand the full scope. What you must focus on instead are the actions. And in terms of the foreign policy actions, I would say, we still have to wait and see. Okay? We still have to wait and see. Secretary of State Rubio has said, by the way, that Boehler's talks with Hamas were a one-off and stresses it hasn't borne fruit. Rubio added that the main channel for talks on a Gaza hostage deal is White House envoy Steve Witkoff. Now, Marco Rubio saying this, I think, moves the needle in the opposite direction. I will say it's not good. Marco Rubio saying that means that they are, still playing ball with Israel. They're playing damage control with Israel. They're afraid of upsetting and offending Israel, which is not something you should think about. You're the United States of America. It's very frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating that there still is this like weird notion, this weirdness that we are entertaining. We're still entertaining this idea that like Israel holds all the cards when it clearly does not. It is not the case. We hold the cards. We are the United Goddamn States of America. But if you wanted to understand why Israel is shutting off energy, shutting off the electricity to the Gaza Strip once again, if you want to understand why Israel is stopping humanitarian aid from going into the Gaza Strip once again, it's a response to that, because they can't do anything to America, so they will turn around and punish the civilian Gazan population because that's the only thing they have. Please don't use the phrase holds the cards. Those are Trump's words and it's super gross because of that. I don't care. I've been saying that far before Donald Trump, and I will continue saying that. One last note that I want to mention before moving on to Trump administration's insane domestic policies in terms of dealing with Israel, hurting Israel's feelings and whatnot. Obviously, we'll get to that. Is this incredible analog from history? As the Associated Press reported that Israel is cutting off its electricity supply to Gaza a week after cutting off all supplies of goods into the territory, Israel sought to press Hamas to accept an extension of the first phase of their ceasefire, reneging on the previous three-phase ceasefire agreement that Hamas had initially put forward, that the Brandon administration had claimed Israel had put forward, that Israel has refused to recognize in perpetuity. And the analog here is from World War II. That's right. On April 19th, this is what Dan Cohen is saying. On April 19th in 1943, German Nazis, unable to combat the Jewish resistance of the Warsaw Ghetto and its tunnel network, cut off electricity, water, and gas soon after they burned the ghetto down. He says Zionist Israel is today's Nazi Germany. I've talked about the Warsaw Ghetto uprising quite a bit as a very apt analog into understanding what has happened in terms of Palestinian resistance, in terms of Palestinian militancy. Okay? I'm going to read this choice quote from the article from the Jewish Historical Institute talking about the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and what the Nazi government's response was to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, also in Arabic known as the Warsaw Intifada. On the same day, 19th of April, General Jürgen Stroop replaced Lieutenant von Sammarn-Freckenegg. Germans entered the ghetto again to meet the resistance on the corner of Nalevki and Geja on Muranowski Square. And they were defended by revisionists from the JMU who had machine guns, or who had one machine gun. After the first day, the insurgents lost one person while Stroop 12. This was a definitive victory for the Jewish fighters, the Jewish resistance. The next day brought combat into the brushmaker's workshop. The gate at the Wolova Street was rigged to blow up. The bomb exploded when the Germans tried to enter the building. At the second attempt, they managed to circle a group of insurgents. Michael Klepfiz distracted the Germans to help his comrades escape. He died of machine gun fire. For his courage, he received the Virtuti Militari Order. And after a bunch of fighting that took place, two flags, a white and red and blue and red one, were placed on Muranowski Square. Germans tried to negotiate with the fighters, and after failing to achieve an agreement, they cut off electricity, water, and gas in the ghetto area. 1-1. 1-1. Obviously, Israel's awful, but I really don't like the Holocaust comparisons. It downplays how awful the Holocaust was. Yeah, no, I don't care that you have an issue with that. I don't care that you take issue with that. Dan Cohen himself is Jewish, making this comparison, and I think it's a perfectly apt comparison. The only reason why it hurts your feelings is because the genocide during the Holocaust, the genocide of the Jews, was completed. That's the only difference here. So yes, the entire point of the entire reason for learning about history, specifically the Holocaust, which is one of the most studied atrocities, okay? But the entire reason for learning about it is so that we don't repeat it again. That's what never again is supposed to imply. Okay? Never again doesn't mean oh, this will never happen again, and it only happened once, and it never happened before. There is no exceptionalism that I will entertain in this process. I never entertained it when we were talking about concentration camps for deportations along the American border, when people would get mad at that and they'd be like, oh, how dare you call it a concentration camp? That is precisely the purpose. Okay. The idea that we can't look at horrifying atrocities throughout history with hopes of recognizing how we got there, how those people got there, and learn some lessons and apply that to ongoing current atrocities, it basically betrays the entire reason for why people learn history. Okay? It is a perfectly apt comparison, and I urge you, chatters who consider this to be unique or exceptional, I urge you to try to seek within, dig deep, and try to figure out why you think it's exceptional. I get that. It's just illegal in my country, which is Germany. Of course. Listen to what I'm saying. Okay? Listen to my words. Why does it feel like this is inappropriate in terms of comparison when there is a direct parity here? Okay? We learn about history not to just go, oh, wow, that happened. That was crazy. Well, there's no lessons to be learned here. We learn about history specifically so that we don't repeat it. A lot of people don't understand this when it comes to the prosecution of a genocide, right? Nowadays, there is at least some legal structure that has been created to prosecute genocide. Now, obviously, it's somewhat of a toothless institution, whether it's the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court, as we've seen, especially when it comes to directing the legal crosshairs at America or an extension of America like Israel or even America's allies and the Western world. Having said that, the reason why we have a prosecutorial apparatus for figuring out how genocide is being conducted and focus on intentionality rather than the raw numbers is because the entire goal of this regulatory body is to stop it before it finalizes. Does that make sense? Because if we were to only prosecute the genocide after it has been completed, well, then far too many Palestinians will have been ethnically displaced and ethnically cleansed. And one might even say that that has already happened. Right? There is some uniqueness, exceptionalism to the Holocaust from a historical perspective, but comparisons are not inappropriate. Equating may be considered inappropriate given the context, but generally it's a significant event to point to because most people understand it. We just need to be careful not to trivialize or downplay the Holocaust. I don't think you are, by the way. Yes, I will never downplay or trivialize the Holocaust. But in terms of the mechanized atrocities, in terms of the mechanized death and destruction that took place in the Holocaust, obviously, in the aftermath of the Holocaust, there were these agencies that I'm talking about that were put in place so that there's international law. There are rules of warfare that changed in the aftermath of World War II. So living in the world where we have these rules in place, okay, it's not going to be, especially with the internet, especially when you can like see it happening in real time and completely understand what's going on in a way that like the rest of the world was kind of oblivious to in World War II in Nazi Germany until they arrived at the concentration camps. Like obviously Israel still has limitations in this process. The only exceptional thing about the Holocaust is that it happened in the Imperial Core. Jay Mershon, you said you are moronic, but I do think that it's not the only exceptional thing about the Holocaust, but it certainly is an exceptional thing about the Holocaust, especially considering the many different atrocities that took place prior to the Holocaust during colonialism, whether it be chattel slavery or you know, a lot of Belgian missions in African states, German missions in African states as well. Like all of these things that took place were comparable in almost size and scope as well, but it is not regarded in the same way as the Holocaust, because the Holocaust was implemented by a Western nation against people that were not considered in the in-group white at the time, certainly by the German state, but everybody else considered them to be a part of the imperial core in that regard. It was being done to, it was neighbors doing it to their neighbors. But yes, that's not the only exceptional aspect of it, though. That's not correct. I think the industrialization of this genocide was, I think, a unique part of this as well. But I would say that my only issue is the word only. Look at Rwanda. The mechanisms of which genocide took place there are immensely different from the Holocaust. No, absolutely. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about colonial violence beforehand from the very same states, or like, you know, neighboring states. When the victims are Africans, usually it's just not. It's just regarded as a part of history, but never paid attention to in the same way. And I think that it's certainly because of the singular industrialized nature of the Holocaust, but also beyond that, the victims as well, for sure. And yes, in terms of the sheer brutality and in terms of the sheer violence, like, the situation is very different now. Like, we have rules specifically designed to make sure that this doesn't happen ever again. So, of course, those rules are limitations set upon the Israeli state. The Israeli state is also not waging this industrialized warfare that it calls war, but it's actually a genocide upon a captive civilian population it is the belligerent occupier of, without American support. They're not doing this on their own. They would never be able to do this on their own, which is part of the reason why there is some limitations to what they can get away with doing. And they greatly, you know, push the boundaries to the best of their ability. Make no mistake. To quote Mark Edelman, a surviving leader of the uprising, all it was about ultimately was that we not let them slaughter us when our turn came. It was only a choice as to the matter of dying. Yeah. Are you regretting voting for Trump yet? Ha ha ha. If you think I voted for Donald Trump, you need to go back to your doctor and ask him to prescribe you lithium, because you are hallucinating. Straight up. All right. Anyway, we shouldn't. The reason why I brought the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising as a 1-to-1 analog is because, understandably, people pushed to the brink in the Warsaw Ghetto, took matters into their own hands with the limited resources that they had, and they were right to do so. Okay, and the German government, that had profound power and control over this captive population, greatly increased the violence in that process. It's an apt comparison to any kind of Palestinian militancy that has evolved throughout time and become more violent as a direct consequence of how violent the apartheid administration has been. Lithium is a mood stabilizer, not an antipsychotic. Okay, my bad. So, important to recognize that. Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the left-wing Palestinian resistance group, is calling on progressive forces, human rights organizations, and student unions in the United States and worldwide to take urgent action to expose the crackdown on Palestinian rights advocates on U.S. college campuses. The recent actions reveal the true fascist face of the Trump administration, the group said in a statement. They called Trump's push to detain and deport student activists a systematic oppression campaign and said this repressive behavior will not scare free people, nor will it stop courageous voices from continuing to support the Palestinian cause. And yes, the only thing, and I'm going to get to that story now, about Mahmoud Khalil, a student activist who led the Columbia protests, who is now in ICE custody. Okay? This is a horrifying story, an absolutely morally repugnant, horrifying story. And the reaction from Americans has also been just as horrifying. Okay? It is insane. Now, of course, Donald Trump signaled that he would do this. So it's not surprising, if that makes sense. It's still, that doesn't change the reality that it is a completely morally repugnant act. It betrays the American Constitution. It betrays free speech. It is genuinely messed up. I don't know how else to describe it beyond the fact that I have no words for it. I have no words to describe this moral depravity. What ended up happening is ICE arrested a student activist. They realized that he was not on a visa in the process of arresting him, as the Trump administration had signaled that if you are a student activist that has protested against Israel, we will deport you. We will remove your visa. This is something that they said they were going to do. They realized that he didn't actually have a student visa. He actually had a green card. He was married to an American citizen who was 8 months pregnant with his child. And they took him anyway. Colombia, in the process, actually cooperated with ICE, for the record, which is also, again, betraying the students, betraying the student body, betraying the principle of being a place for learning, a place for education, like actively collaborating with the Gestapo against your own students is shocking. It's unimaginable. So ICE did what ICE does. They took him anyway. They grabbed him. He is now in a Louisiana facility as we speak. And they said that they were revoking his green card. People have not been able to communicate with him since yesterday. And the Secretary of State then announced that green card holders will also have their green cards revoked. This is what Marco Rubio said. Marco Rubio, who got 99 votes in a Senate confirmation hearing from the likes of Bernard Sanders as well. We will be revoking the visas and or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported. Mahmoud Khalil's crime was having moral courage. That's it. He saw what Israel was doing, and he thought it was unconscionable. Mahmoud Khalil has now been moved to an ICE facility in Jena, Louisiana. DSA here in Louisiana has been working since this morning to get him aid and get him in contact with everyone he needs to hear from. Not sure if he or his team have a call to action for supporting him during this time or not. Asking my chapter currently, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear from anything. Yes, I already mentioned this, but yes, his wife is an American citizen and is 8 months pregnant, and for hours they didn't tell her where he was. And yes, Shai Davide also demanded that this person get deported. Let's take a look at the story, and I'll get to it a little bit. I'll talk more about it. But there's also currently a protest happening in New York as well. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's talk about some of the other details.
Who helped lead last year's protests at Columbia University. Mahmoud Khalil's attorney says the agents said the former graduate student's green card was being revoked. Christina Fan joins us live from Columbia's Morningside Heights campus with the latest. Christina.
Natalie, good morning. Mahmoud Khalil was a well-known figure here on campus, known for organizing and leading the student encampment that was pro-Palestinian here on campus last spring. His attorney has vowed to file a vigorous legal appeal, accusing the government of openly repressing student activism. We know that federal immigration authorities arrested Khalil Saturday night, and according to his attorney, Amy Greer, he was taken into custody inside his university-owned apartment while with his pregnant wife. Greer says federal agents claim they were fulfilling a State Department order to revoke his student visa, and when she told them he was a legal permanent resident with a green card, they said they were revoking that instead. A spokesperson with the Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying the arrest was in support of President Trump's executive orders prohibiting anti-Semitism, claiming Khalil led activities aligned.
Does he have any legal defense? Yes, he has endless amounts of legal defense. Are you kidding me? Yes. As it stands, this is a violation of numerous pre-existing American laws. You cannot simply engage in the process of revoking someone's green card for not violating any serious, severe crimes. When someone has a green card and they actually engage in some kind of serious crime, even then the process of denaturalization and deportation would be unique. Okay. He has not done anything. He has not violated the law as it stands, unless there is a clear-cut law where you just say, hey, if you hurt Israel's feelings, we will deport you. Until that becomes the law, there is no law that he has violated. So he has a chance to stay? Yes, he does. He does have a chance to stay. Obviously, I have no real confidence in the American criminal justice system, but this is, this is a novel example for sure. It's not one that I can think of from American history. Like there's not really any comparisons I can think of.
To Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. According to an immigration expert not related to this case, Khalil's arrest violates due process.
If he's a green card holder, slam dunk, there's no way to arrest him. If he had not been charged with a crime, or if he's, if there's something more than that, really, there's no way, number one. Because you're dealing with a legal resident alien. Yeah. Which means you're dealing with the green card holder who has a lot of rights in our country.
Yeah, you are basically de facto an American citizen at that point. Okay? That's insane. This is one step removed from denaturalization, like having a natural born U.S. citizen, someone who was born on U.S. soil, someone like myself, for example, having his citizenship removed simply because the president said so, or simply because the State Department says so. It's just like, it is a violation of numerous American laws, okay? And here is the legal standing, or here is like the legal reasoning or justification that the American government used here. The arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, a prominent Palestinian activist, was based on a provision of immigration law that gives the administration broad authority on who can be subject to deportation, I'm told. The Immigration and Nationality Act states that an alien whose presence or activities in the United States the Secretary of State has reasonable ground to believe would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States is deportable. That provision of the law was used, in this case, as grounds to detain Khalil, according to a senior Department of Homeland Security official. It's also expected to be used in future cases. The real reason why they're doing this is to create a chilling effect, okay? This violates the principle of the First Amendment. That is the only reason why they're doing this. They don't actually believe that this person is a terrifying figure or a terrorist or anything like that. They just don't want people on student visas or American citizens or green card holders to protest against the state of Israel. That's it. That's it. So when people come in here and ask me, Hassan, are you afraid? Like, is this going to happen to someone like yourself? We're not at that level. We're not at the level where they denaturalize U.S. born citizens, even though the Trump administration has actively talked about, doing exactly that at one point. We're not there yet. But having said that, this doesn't put fear in my heart. It just puts anger in my heart. And I hope that you guys can also feel the way that I'm feeling in this moment. This shouldn't cause you to be fearful, because there are a lot more of us than there are of them, okay? There are a lot more of us who understand exactly what is going on in Gaza and are angry about it, are willing to protest, than there are people who don't feel that way, people who want to silence you. It's that simple, okay? There is nothing that they can do in the face of genuine moral conviction. It's completely unacceptable. And I suspect that people will push back. I will do everything in my power to do so as well. Okay? Jeremy Scahill had a take on this. He said, it's remarkable how so many people who just got their law degrees on Twitter don't understand a basic constitutional principle. A person is not convicted of a crime because someone, including the president, accuses them of a crime. This applies to U.S. citizens and non-citizens alike. They are simply trying to do their very best to get you to stop protesting. They openly has said it as such as well. The ADL, which is supposed to be a civil rights organization, by the way, I tweeted about this yesterday. The ADL, that is supposed to be a civil rights organization in the United States, was celebrating this. Okay? They were celebrating this decision. The Apartheid Defense League was celebrating the decision of the White House and the Department of Homeland Security, the decision to revoke the green card of an American green card holder married to an American citizen who was 8 months pregnant for the crime of hurting Israel's feelings. The ADL thinks it's okay to revoke the green card of student activists. This is supposed to be a civil rights organization, by the way, is what I tweeted. Here's what the ADL said. We firmly believe that there would be swift and severe consequences for those who provide material support to foreign terrorist organizations, incite violence in support of terrorist activities, or conceal their identities in order to harass and intimidate Jewish individuals and institutions with impunity. We appreciate the Trump administration's broad, bold set of efforts to counter campus anti-Semitism, and this action further illustrates that resolve by holding alleged perpetrators responsible for their actions. Obviously, any deportation or action or revocation of a green card holder or visa must be undertaken in alignment with required due process protections. We also hope that this action serves as a deterrent to others who might consider breaking the law on college campuses or anywhere. When they're not defending Elon Musk throwing up a Sig Heil, they're defending the Nazi government doing Nazi things. Here's the Columbia Jewish Alumni Association, which played a role in this happening, by the way, celebrating the decision of the Department of Homeland Security. Now that Mahmoud Khalil has been taken into ICE custody, his supporters are spinning a sob story about why you should feel sorry for him. Here's why you shouldn't, and why this is exactly what needs to happen to restore order to campuses like Columbia and our country. Khalil wasn't just another protester. He was a ringleader of the chaos in Columbia. Here he is acting as a spokesperson for the Hamilton Hall takeover, a ringleader at Milstein Hall occupation, distributed materials supporting terrorism. For over a year, Columbia coddled Khalil. They excused him. They negotiated with him. They suspended, then unsuspended him. He responded by escalating with more and more demands. Demands in capital letters. What were those demands? Demands that the Columbia University divest from Israel. Very reasonable demands, mind you. Very reasonable. And also that the Columbia University authorities actually demonstrate transparency over the ways in which they are suspending student activists. Okay? None of this is illegal, by the way. None of this. Civil disobedience is perfectly permissible, perfectly acceptable. It's the only tool that people have until you push them into a corner and they don't want to be civil any longer. This is something that a lot of Americans don't understand, because while there have been instances of militancy throughout U.S. history, and some of that militancy has led to the weekend, for example, and labor rights and labor protections that we actually take for granted without even thinking about it, okay? The abolition of child labor, things of that nature that the current American administration is actively clawing back, by the way, and actively undermining on a daily basis. But as I've said time and time again, I always bring back the JFK quote on this issue. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Okay? That's it. That's what you're doing. You cannot consistently push people and expect them not to retaliate in return. That's it. It can't go on like this. It just simply cannot go on like this. There will be blowback to this, I'm telling you. No one forced Khalil to barge into campus, disrupt learning, or take over buildings. No one forced him to lead mobs that demonize America or harass and intimidate Jews. This was his choice. Reportedly, Khalil's green card is being revoked. Good. A green card is a privilege that millions wait years for. So is studying at Columbia. Khalil threw them away. His actions prove he neither respects nor deserves the shot he was given. No one should feel sorry for him. Khalil's supporters report that he recently graduated. If so, how and why was he on a closed Barnard College campus? He knew full well he didn't belong there, and he snuck onto campus for the express purpose of interrupting the learning of others. Khalil has spent over a year abusing the privileges of this country and Columbia gave him. He faced zero consequences until now. If he's finally being removed as an anti-Semitic instigator and anti-Western provocateur, this isn't a strategy. This isn't a tragedy. This is justice. That is what the Columbia Jewish Alumni Association said. ADL, of course, the Apartheid Defense League, obviously, supported this. I can't explain to you how unimaginable how insanely cruel this is. I don't know how else to describe to you how cruel this is, how ridiculous this is. And although in this process, those who use their Judaism as a defense mechanism, as a shield, to claim that this is anti-Semitic because he's criticizing the state of Israel, okay? What those people do not comprehend is that these rules will inevitably be used against Jews. First, anti-Zionist Jews, and then all Jews across the board. And you're a fucking dumbass for not realizing that. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is not because like, oh, Jews are exceptional and they must be preserved or they must be protected or anything like that. I'm not doing Jewish exceptionalism or whatever the fuck people say I'm doing. I'm simply saying that if you care about self-preservation and you actively champion these things, you are actively championing your own inevitable demise. You are a fucking short-sighted moron. Do you understand? Wake the fuck up. It is quite literally baked in to Holocaust studies. Understanding the idea that it doesn't start with just trade unionists or socialists, okay? Ridiculous. Update from Zateo on Mahmoud. Scoop. Emails obtained by Zateo News shows Mahmoud Khalid reached out for help from Columbia administration one day before ICE detained him. He said he couldn't sleep from threats he was receiving. He even wrote he feared ICE might come to his home. And they did. And they did. And now people are saying he's a terrorist. Here's Izzy Breen. Organizations of Jews cheering, clapping as armed agents of the state remove a young person from public life without telling the public or even a family where he is, without even an ounce of self-awareness. Okay? The White House then said, Shalom, Mahmoud. We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. Using the Trump quote. The White House has been actively also partnering without, I don't know how this doesn't even like spell trouble for anyone who cares about self-preservation as an American Jew. Okay? Like liberal Zionists or conservative Zionist Jews don't fucking recognize how devastating this is for their own fucking future on this soil, by the way. Yeah. Izzy said, huge test for Democrats. What's more important, Israel or democracy? It's pretty obvious that they don't care about democracy. They care about Israel. Let's be real. The other Shalom tweet was even grosser than the previous one that we just looked at. Okay. Where is it? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Because the White House also posted yet another Shalom tweet, I think. This is going to create actual anti-Semitism? Of course it is. What do you mean? And it has already. Israel's actions being paired up with Judaism and the Western defenders of Israel claiming that this is being done at the behest of Judaism is already fucking exploding anti-Semitism. The next generation is already locked in. They're saying like, oh, well, if they're doing this right now, then what was Hitler right about? That is like the most common thing that young people say, okay? That is literally going on right now. And the retaliation to that is not to be reasonable and immediately separate the actions of a violent genocidal apartheid state from the entire religion. Instead of doing that, people are offensively celebrating this shit. I don't know how no one can see the devastating impact of doing shit like this. Shalom, saying, Shalom, Mahmoud. ICE proudly apprehended and detained Mahmoud Khalil, a radical foreign pro-Hamas student on the campus of Columbia University. This is the first arrest of many to come. Donald Trump then turned around and said, following my previously signed executive orders, ICE proudly apprehended and detained Mahmoud Khalil, a radical foreign pro-Hamas student on the campus of Columbia University. This is the first arrest of many to come. We know there are more students at Columbia and other universities across the country who have engaged in pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, anti-American activity, and the Trump administration will not tolerate it. Many are not students. They are paid agitators. We will find, apprehend, and deport these terrorist sympathizers from our country, never to return again. If you support terrorism, including the slaughtering of innocent men, women, and children, your presence is contrary to our national and foreign policy interests, and you are not welcome here. We expect every one of America's colleges and universities to comply. Thank you. Yes, we have crossed the Rubicon when it comes to the insane ways in which this administration is just undermining the Constitution, weaponizing the Department of Homeland Security against people that they consider to be political dissidents. Okay, this has nothing to do with like protecting Hamas or offering material support to a terrorist organization. Suck my dick. Okay, shut the fuck up. There have been numerous instances throughout American history where American politicians have actively offered real material support to institutions and organizations that were otherwise declared terrorist organizations. Okay, the most obvious and prescient example right now is Israel. That's number one. Number two, even one that was considered a terror cell by other Western nations, is the IRA. Americans fundraised and sent arms shipments directly to the IRA. What are we talking about? I'm not even talking about the Iran-Contra affair. I'm not talking about the American State Department actively offering material support and training and radicalization and logistics to virtually every single terror cell on this fucking planet, either directly or indirectly by way of local allies such as local regional powers such as Turkey, okay, or other NATO nations. That's not what I'm even talking about here. I'm saying like directly American citizens offering material support to groups that were considered terrorist groups has happened throughout American history. There's never been this level of reaction towards it. That is not even what Mahmoud Khalil did, by the way, which makes this even worse. Between 1973 and 1978, 500,000 rounds of 5.56 45 millimeter NATO ammunition stolen from U.S. Marine base were successfully sent to the IRA. 1979, the Gardaí seized a cargo of more than 150 guns and 60,000 rounds of ammunition, including 2 M60 machine guns, 15 M16 rifles, a number of M14 rifles, and an AK-47 sent from the United States. Irish Americans offered direct material support to the IRA, and they had every right to do so, by the way. They were on the right side, okay? This person did not do that for Hamas. He didn't do any of those things. He simply protested against the state of Israel. That's it. That is insane. And he wasn't the only person, by the way, okay? ICE agents also visited a second Palestinian student living in Columbia-owned housing over the weekend and attempted to take her into custody, but were turned away at the door, according to a union representing the student. That's right. I had the UAW representative H. Bizzle in the chat ringing the alarm bells about this as well. Do not open the door to ICE agents ever. Trump warns that arrested Palestinian activists in Colombia will be the first of many, and it turns out they were also actively targeting another student there as well. It's just like an insane thing. I don't know. I don't know how people don't recognize how this will be damaging for them as well. The NIH is now cutting grants directly at Columbia, by the way. The NIH is today terminating more than $250 million in funding, including more than 400 grants to Columbia University, following the directives from the Trump administration's Joint Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism. The cancellations are due to Columbia University's continued inaction in the face of persistent harassment of Jewish students. Here's what they did. They created a fake problem. Liberal media elevated this fake problem because of their own personal loyalty to the State Department agenda under the Brandon administration. And now the Trump administration comes in and says, you see, we're dealing with the anti-Semitism on college campuses. It's not real anti-Semitism on college campuses, okay? And even if there was anti-Semitism on college campuses, whether it be fucking Nazis protesting or anything else, this is not an adequate measure to deal with that, okay? Cutting off grant funding to college campuses and deporting people is an insane thing to do, especially when considering that when neo-Nazis that participated in Charlottesville were allowed to literally graduate from Columbia University in the past. One of the organizers of the Charlottesville neo-Nazi rally, where people were marching in the fucking streets with tiki torches saying Jews will not replace us, actually anti-Semitic shit, not simply saying Israel's an apartheid state, okay? Or that Zionism is fascist and we must not allow Zionism to fester. Those are not comparable statements. One is correct. The other one is Nazi bullshit. And Columbia treated one very differently than the other. Okay? This is white supremacy in full display. Leah Greenberg says, if you as an American Jew do not want to be used as the excuse for destruction of civil liberties and basic democratic protections, the time to speak out is right now. 100%. 100%. Straight up. And it's not just Jewish Americans. It's all Americans that have to speak out against this. This is, I don't, like, if you look at the situation and think, he's a terrorist, fuck him. Okay. You are a delusional loser. If you look to the situation and say, he's just a terrorist, who cares? You do not understand what you are championing. You're not naive, you're evil. This reminds me of the more humorous quote from before the election regarding support for Hamas that you read before. What is this? Very funny and very correct Felix's position was, and I'm going to read this, okay? In terms of like lending support to Hezbollah or whatever, Felix also said, hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. He said, I hate that the central conceit here is that any American can meaningfully support Ansar Allah, Hezbollah, or really anyone like that. An American supporting or condemning any of these groups, they literally can provide no material, logistical, or any other type of tangible assistance to, makes as much sense as an American condemning the Battle of Agincourt. It's like, that's it. Like, we're just chirping into the fucking void. The American government is Sharia law better or fascism? What? Sharia law? Where is Sharia law? What are you talking about, dude? Is doing whatever the fuck it wants regardless. That much is clear. Yeah. It's just, it's a ridiculous statement. And not only is it a ridiculous statement because it's like virtually impossible without any sort of like criminal punishment that you receive, including fucking torture and being put in Guantanamo Bay immediately. Okay. There is no real material support that you can offer these groups regardless. But outside of that, what they are considering material support is simply saying Israel is an apartheid state, that Israel is doing a genocide, and demanding that our institutions take actions against that. That is insane to me. Okay? And you know from my own personal back and forth online, wherever I go, the comments are fucking filled to the brim with Hassan loves terrorism. Hassan wants Jewish women to be raped or whatever the fuck these rabid psychos say. Regardless of what my commentary on this issue is, a lot of these people just simply say, oh, you support Palestinian emancipation? You're a terrorist. You love terrorism. You want Jews to die. Okay? This is an incredibly dangerous prospect. I'm not saying this simply out of self-preservation. Okay? This is completely unacceptable. It is officially Turkish levels of political suppression, okay? Suppressing dissent to this degree is insane. This is unironically something that has happened throughout American history in the past, in dark pages of American history, in terms of like the McCarthyist trials, the Red Scare, and the blacklisting that took place, the internment camps for the Japanese during World War II, things of that nature. We've done a lot of horrible things, okay? But god damn, this is like, maybe this happened. Maybe this happened in the anti-Vietnamese occupation protests as well. Students engaged in a lot more militant action back then. But I don't know if they ever actually deported student protesters in the process. Like, I don't know if they actually utilized this level of political suppression. If you think this is acceptable, you wouldn't have been resisting the Nazis in 1940. You would have been helping them. Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, they did Kent State, obviously. They shot them. And there was that. They did do that. Asmongold reacts to the Chinese UCLA student getting visa revoked for organizing rallies in support of Palestinians. What? This isn't even real. This wasn't a Chinese national who organized protests at UCLA and she didn't get her visa revoked. This was a fake story. She's not even Chinese, I don't think. Like, every part of this is fucking fake, dude. What the hell is going on?
And so, really, if you have a person who's organizing a group of people to collectively commit a crime, well, then, yeah, I think it makes sense to get them the fuck out of here. Like,
what is the crime? Aren't you a fucking free speech defender? What the hell is this? The crime is what? Protesting against Israel is not a crime, at least still to this day. I guess in 38 states it might as well be. 37 states it might as well be. But if you're a fucking free speech defender, what the hell are you saying here? This is a clear-cut violation of the First Amendment. New York Times headline about it. Oh, this was a famous New York Times story from Columbia hears plea for expelled student. Burke and 2 other speakers demand his reinstatement at gathering of 500. 3 members of the American Student Union, including Robert Burke, who was expelled in June for leading the anti-Nazi demonstrations last May, addressed a gathering of 500 students of the college and various schools at Columbia University in front of Hamilton Hall yesterday noon. It's so crazy that for so many people, they just openly say, like, no, you don't understand. Just like free speech means, like I say, slurs, and you can't say anything about it. You can't even like feel upset about it. Okay. But if you actually are peacefully demonstrating against a violent apartheid regime doing a genocide, then of course you're not going to have free speech. What do you mean? There's no freedom to protest against Israel. What are you talking about? Yeah, of course. You should go to jail. You should get deported. What do you mean? Free speech is just to say slurs without any additional free speech that comes after those slurs, by the way. I have free speech to say slurs. You don't even have the right to use your speech against that, okay? No, make no mistake. It just goes one direction. I cannot understand how you can look at this. This is like not even a real story, even though the real version of this has now happened. Okay, but it's hilarious that Asmongold, who claims to be a free speech defender, is like, yeah, you should get deported based hurting Israel's feelings. Yeah.
We've got enough of these people on our own here that are living here already. You think we need more of them? We're going to need to import more of them from fucking...
There's no discussion on this either when the other side is doing the suffering Olympics driven by spite for their own countrymen, and it doesn't help that 80% of them are dumber than dog shit 60-year-olds who get Google Play cards scammed by Kevin Costner Facebooks.
in China. So yeah, it's insane. That's obstruction and harassment. Yeah, I guess so. What's the correct way to protest without breaking the law?
Oh, dude, yeah, no. And if the law says you can't protest Israel, then yep, that's it. It's even better when you consider a source, my subreddit. Is this from his subreddit? No, this is from World News Video or some shit. It doesn't fucking matter. It also doesn't matter because this was a fake story, but now there is a real story. There is a real story of a person who's having his green card revoked, potentially, for the crime of hurting Israel's feelings. I can only react to this image as I am, a Jew. To make Jewish words and phrases interchangeable with ICE detention is to make Judaism the face of fascism. This has happened in Israel and will happen here if we allow it, says David Grossman. It nauseates me on a basic level to see Judaism used as some sort of fascist taunt. The mixture of Jewish and Nazi signals from this administration is an intentional mixture to depoliticize Nazism and create a vision where only right-wing Judaism is seen as legitimate. Free Mahmoud and free Palestine. Daniel Greenfield. You are not a Jew. You are a human shield for those who terrorize and kill Jews. Real question. Are you concerned about them trying to arrest you? I don't give a fuck. I am a rich Twitch streamer, okay? I am the last person who matters in this process. We're talking about a real student activist who fucking put his body on the line and is now facing repercussions as a consequence of that. I think putting myself in this position is ridiculous, okay? I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not something that I care about or entertain at this moment. And it's not something that will stop me from continuing to speak truth to power in this process. And it shouldn't stop you either. Okay. We all have our rights. At least right now, we still have our rights. We still have a right to resist against this sort of thing. We still have the criminal justice system. And I hope that there are more reasonable people that are in positions of power right now that will put an end to this nonsense. Oh my fucking Lord. But it won't happen unless there is mass mobilization. Okay? Yeah. Meanwhile, at Harvard, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who headlined an event at Columbia right before Mahmoud Khalil was detained, just joked at a Harvard event that he would give exploding pages to students protesting his visit. Jaeger Larson, thank you for the 21 gifted subs. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett joked to hundreds of people about sending explosive devices to dissenting event attendees at a talk at the Harvard Business School on Thursday, according to 6 people present at the discussion. HBS Professor Paul A. Gompers, 86, the moderator, began the off-the-record event by explaining Harvard's guidelines on disruption, noting that the dissenting audience members who interrupt the speaker would be removed. Bennett then interrupted to add, "I think we'll just give them a pager." Isn't that wonderful? If you are a former Israeli prime minister, you can joke about assassinating American college campus protesters against you. You can just joke about that sort of thing. It's perfectly fine. Mahmoud did everything that Columbia wanted and the students to do, always respectful and calm, was chosen to be the lead negotiator for this reason, and was always unmasked. It didn't help. Yeah. Here's the other aspect of this, that he didn't fucking violate any rules and actually abided by the rules as well. Okay? What really gets me is Mahmoud did everything that administrators claimed they wanted from us. He was always unmasked. He was extremely tactful with his words, was a legal permanent resident, was kind and patient even with those who dehumanized him, always stayed rational and calm. He was a lead negotiator precisely because of these qualities he had that I and so many of us lack. He always extended grace to those who didn't deserve it. He always helped us ground ourselves in the face of the constant trauma Columbia inflicted upon us all since October 2023. Any journalist who interacted with him can speak to his character. It does not matter how perfectly we behave or how pure-hearted we clearly are. When fascism comes knocking at our doors, we will start with the most vulnerable and eventually get to eroding all of our rights. Open your eyes. I'm begging you to open your eyes. While many may have come knocking at Mahmoud Khalil's door yesterday, you will hear the knock at your own door tomorrow. And if you don't resist this now, nobody will be left to resist for you when it's too late. This is straightforwardly Nazi Germany shit, okay? There's no other way to put it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, man. I really don't know what else to say. And you got fucking donkeys celebrating this decision. Like, it's so goddamn gross. It's wild to read about Nazi Germany and be shocked at the ways in which dehumanization it actively becomes the normative position in society, and the atrocities that unfold as a consequence of that. And then you read that shit and you go, oh, that could never happen again. I mean, come on, dude. That could certainly never happen again. That's insane. It's like, how did this happen? how do people become so complicit? You think to yourself, oh, well, back then they simply did not have access to information in real time. They didn't have the internet. They didn't know what was going on, even though many did, right? They smelled it. They saw it. It was visible in the backdrop of their everyday lives. And they looked the other way, either out of fear or because they didn't care. And yet, we're watching it unfold in real time, and we're watching it unfold in real time in broad daylight, and everyone can see it taking place. And it seems like, unlike previous civil rights movements, right, whether it be the civil rights struggle for black people, there is mass public support for this cause. And it's wild to me that the more there is support for this kind of thing, the more there is anger and resentment towards Israel's genocide, the more this administration tries to deal with it with political repression. Even Glenn Greenwald is supporting him. It's wild. Wait, no, that's not wild at all. That's like perfectly normal. Glenn Greenwald has been, has always been a free speech absolutist. This is like the one issue where he will unflinchingly shit on Israel over and over again. That's the one aspect where he hasn't lost his mind on. This is something that he's always been consistent on, regardless of who funds his operations. Matt Duss also talked about how Ann Coulter is outflanking the Anti-Defamation League, also known as the Apartheid Defense League, on this issue. There's almost no one I don't want to deport unless they've committed a crime. Isn't this a violation of the First Amendment? There's almost no one I don't want to deport, but unless they've committed a crime, isn't this a violation of the First Amendment? Like, Ann Coulter's like, I haven't seen a deportation I don't like. Okay? I have yet to encounter a deportation I dislike until this very moment. It's insane. Like, this person is a direct villain. Okay? Here's new information, a scoop from Prem at Zeteo, where Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian who helped lead negotiations between Columbia University and student protesters, had appealed to the school for protections from harassment and possibly immigration and customs enforcement agents one day before the Trump administration detained him Saturday, emails obtained by Zeteo show. Most recent among the leaked messages was an email Khalil, a green card holder, sent to Columbia interim president Katrina Armstrong on March 7th. Since yesterday, I've been subjected to a vicious, coordinated, and dehumanizing doxing campaign led by Columbia affiliates Shai Davide and David Lederer, who, among others, have labeled me a security threat and called for my deportation. This is correct, by the way. The most annoying dipshits are celebrating this. They actively champion this, and the Trump administration gave them this as a gift. A violation of numerous American principles and American laws, by the way. Shai Davide says, Dear Secretary Rubio, thank you for your strong statements. Now we want to see strong action. Illegally taking over a college in which you are not even enrolled and distributing terrorist propaganda should be a deportable offense, no? Because that's what Mahmoud Khalil from Columbia SJP did yesterday at Barnard College. This was from 4 days ago. And the DHS actually said, yeah, we'll do that. The Senate Judiciary Dems posted, free Mahmoud Khalil. And the White House responded with, this is the first arrest of many to come. The reason why they're saying that, by the way, once again, is because they hope to create a chilling effect on protests. If you're an American citizen, if you're an American Jew, okay, you should be on the fucking front lines. Straight up. There are overwhelming majorities of people that recognize what is going on. For the first time in American history, the majority of Democrats actually sympathize with the Palestinians over Israelis. That is a complete shift that I never thought would happen. Even if the Democratic Party does not listen to its base of support, it still does not change that reality that there are more people that absolutely recognize what the fuck is going on. And it's going to get worse. So it is our duty to protest against this, to resist against this in any way, shape, or form we can. Ramallah says so many people have no historical awareness and legitimately believe that it could not and would not happen again, but are unaware of the warning signs, so they just expect fascism to basically only show up when Trump himself says he's a fascist. I taught a few people about beer hall push, and they were shocked that they had never learned about it and immediately were like, wait, didn't Trump do the same thing, Lamau? Yes. The Action Network demand the immediate release of Palestinian student activist Mahmoud Khalil from DHS detention has already collected 1.5 million letters, by the way. There is broad support for this. There is broad popular support for this. Releasing a Palestinian student activist, a Palestinian American student activist, is infinitely more popular than Donald fucking Trump. Okay? And arresting pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist student activists is only going to make the Trump administration even more unpopular. FYI, Action Network is just a tool. This is from Deportation Defense. Yes. This is a letter campaign created by Deportation Defense. We'll post the link as well so you can also sign up and make these same demands as well. Yeah, this was the email that he sent to Colombia 3 days ago before he got before his deportation process started by ICE. Citing the Beitar post, Beitar is a right-wing Israeli harassment operation, not dissimilar to the Canary Mission and many other Israeli Knesset grant-funded organizations that simply dox fucking American students on American college campuses without any sort of political or legal repercussions, by the way, and have greatly escalated post-October 7. If you remember, some of the first things that Canary Mission and all these other like groups did was bring to college campuses these massive fucking billboards on the back of trucks doxing college students for the crime of criticizing Israel. Beitar is one of the most right-wing versions of this, led by a guy who is a revenge pornographer, allegedly. And they were, of course, going after Khalil. Khalil asked Armstrong in his email, citing the Beitar post, with the stakes being so high, I ask you, as representatives of Columbia University's administration, how will you protect international students from doxing and from deportation? How will you protect these students' rights to free speech, expression, and association, rights provided for in the U.S. Constitution and Columbia's Code of Conduct, and stop the suppression and now potential criminalization of that speech and expression? Students' futures, their livelihoods, and now, without exaggerating, their lives are at risk. Yeah, Beitar is so right-wing that they fucking fought with Shai Davide in the past. Here's what Letitia James said. I'm extremely concerned about the arrest and detention of Mahmoud Khalil, an advocate and legal permanent resident of Palestinian descent. My office is monitoring the situation and we're in contact with his attorney. Here's what the Columbia Office of the President just released, by the way. This was their reaction to everything that's going on. And yes, the law that the plan to deport pro-Hamas students relies on a 1952 law that targeted Jews. We'll talk about that as well, the irony inherent in this process. I write to you at a challenging moment for our community. Columbia University exists to serve the United States and the world by teaching, creating, and advancing knowledge. We pursue that mission through freedom of expression, blah, 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 blah. We will work tirelessly to fulfill our mission. We're taking a methodical and thoughtful approach to addressing the multitude of challenges ahead of us. Suck my fucking dick. We will support our community. I understand the distress that many of you are feeling about the presence of ICE agents in the streets around campus. I feel it too, and I'm working with our team to manage the response. Resources for students are listed below. We will follow the law, as has always been the case, and rumors suggesting that any member of Columbia leadership requested the presence of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents on or near the campus are false. It remains the longstanding practice of the university and the practice of cities and institutions throughout the country that law enforcement must have a judicial warrant to enter a non-public university areas, including residential university buildings. How'd they get there? We are deeply committed to free speech as a fundamental value, except for when you protest against Israel, in which case we have no commitment whatsoever to free speech, and we will let you get deported. I mean, this is all bullshit, okay? And then they have counseling and well-being resources. Do they have, other than counseling and religious life advisors or whatever, do they actually give you like an ACLU link in here on what to do when ICE comes knocking down your door? I don't see it. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't see it though. Beitar are the same ones who've been putting pages in people's pockets of pro-Palestinian activists, including Norm Finkelstein. The group cannot be any grosser than they are. That's who Columbia is working alongside ICE with. Yeah. Unsurprising that Fetterman is involved. We are strongly supportive of, said Glick, we are strongly supportive of Trump's administration's plan to deport jihadis who seek out to destroy America. Our campuses and our streets are filled with violent people who hate Jews and cannot coexist with Western society. On Wednesday, Glick was on Capitol Hill meeting with lawmakers, including pro-Israel Senator John Fetterman, Democrat from PA. A Zionist organization is compiling names of foreign students on student visas in the U.S. who spewed anti-Israel bile at campus protests and is hoping President-elect Trump will give the haters a one-way ticket back home. This is from the New York Post, by the way. That's why they're writing the article in this, in the English language, even though it is very close to how you would hear it from the original German. For the record. If you cannot comprehend how, if you cannot see what is going on, if you cannot recognize the writing on the wall and how we are actively becoming more and more militant, more and more right-wing, more and more dangerous, okay, more open to fascism, I don't know what to tell you. This is a telltale sign. I'm going to give you two examples here, by the way, two things that happened. One good news and one reason as to why why Khalil would have been placed in custody in a detention center in Jena, the LaSalle Detention Center facility in Louisiana. Pablo Manrique from Migrant Insider reports, ICE often goes immigration judge shopping by putting detainees in detention centers under jurisdictions of courts that very rarely decide in favor of migrants. Jena, LaSalle in Louisiana, where Mahmoud Khalil is held, is one such detention center. That is the reason why they sent him to LaSalle. And even then, it seems that a judge has blocked the Columbia pro-Palestinian protester organizer Mahmoud Khalil's removal from U.S. This is from the senior legal affairs reporter at Politico, Josh Gerstein. Apparently, a judge has blocked the pro-Palestinian protest organizer Mahmoud Khalil's removal from the U.S. pending further action on habeas petition, because it would be a violation of due process. But the very fact that, look, the very fact that this is happening, and before people get at me over this and be like, oh, well, what about the Democrats or whatever? This action is not being taken as it stands currently to start deporting people en masse, okay? This action is being taken specifically to have a chilling effect, to tell people you will get punished criminally. And it is an extension of the previous administration's policy on the matter. 3,500 college students were arrested under the Biden administration for protesting against the state of Israel. 3,500 students were arrested in direct violation of the First Amendment. 3,500. If a liberal administration is going to allow that to happen, what the fuck did you think a Republican administration was going to do? And the reason for why those people got arrested was not because they were being truly disruptive or anything like that. The reason why, the 3 times the number of people that were arrested after January 6th, by the way, 3 times the number. January 6th, 1,000 people are arrested and convicted, okay, of crimes during the insurrection. 3,500 student protesters arrested under the Biden administration. And the reason for why they did that was specifically to say, you cannot protest against the state of Israel. If you do, we will find a way to fuck your lives up. They released them. They released the overwhelming majority of those, if not almost all of those protesters, but they arrested them regardless. And the reason for why they did that was specifically to create an environment where people understood that if you protest against Israel, there will be violent repercussions for you. Okay? Administrations in the past have never done so against Nazis, actual neo-Nazis, protesting on college campuses, protesting all around the country. The Trump administration prior actively defended neo-Nazis, as a matter of fact. So there were very fine people on both sides during Charlottesville, where a neo-Nazi traveled all the way from Ohio to Charlottesville and killed a counter-protester, an anti-fascist, by the name of Heather Heyer. Joe Biden claimed that Heather Heyer's murder in the hands of a white supremacist terrorist was the reason why he ran for office again. Make no mistake. And then Joe Biden oversaw some of the most brutal tactics implemented against peaceful demonstrators against the state of Israel post-October 7. In a matter of a year, in his last year in office, Joe Biden oversaw the arrest of 3,500 student protesters for the crime in air quotes, of protesting against the apartheid regime of Israel, actively conducting a genocide with our weapons, with our taxpayer-funded machines, and with our political cover in broad daylight, in front of all of your eyes. They even went so far as to ban TikTok, or at least attempt to ban TikTok, because TikTok was showing the truth to younger generations about the depravity and the horrifying nature of Israel's offensive genocidal campaign in the Gaza Strip. At no step did we ever take a deep breath and say, hey, we should probably reconsider our relationship. I didn't say we're on the verge of fascism. I'm saying fascism is here. And people will say, Hassan, fascism has always been here, but it is in your face, directly here. I'm worried about you, man. Do you think you're safe as a pro-Palestinian content creator? Man, this is inappropriate. stop asking me this question, okay? It's inappropriate. I don't care. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that Mahmoud Khalil, regardless of the smears, the vicious smears, was not arrested for any real reason other than the fact that this administration did not like what he had to say about a foreign nation. That's it. He didn't violate any laws. He didn't even break any fucking rules. It is actually the current administration that's violating pre-existing rules and laws. In an effort to deport him. Like, look at the Canary mission, dude. First of all, the Canary mission should be disbanded. Like, the fact that it exists is insane to me. But this is exactly what they've been doing. And they were doing this before the Trump administration, and they've greatly escalated these doxing campaigns after the Trump administration, knowing full well that Trump will play ball with them and maybe offer them a bone and deport a couple of these scary foreign students. What is this? Jewish, if not now, org founder Simone Zimmerman shares some platforms nods alongside anti-Semitic podcaster Hassan Piker, who complains people are hyper-focused on October 7th, labeling Hamas a terror org instead of the legitimate resistance and spreading misinformation like mass rapes. Yeah. Focus. You can suck my dick. Yeah, look at the scary the scary things that they were doing. Like, you have to be a schizo to watch this compilation. If this is the best you got for why this person should be deported, you are operating on so many different levels of mania. If this is personally like enough for you to say, oh, this is so scary, you are a psychopath. It's wild to me that there is something that happens when you like defend Israel and you become a Zionist, or you were always one, I don't know, but like you just have no way of understanding other human beings. You're just one note where you can like actively dox people, you can actively go after them, you can actively demand that the administration deport you, okay? For the crime of someone exercising their First Amendment rights against Israel doing a genocide. Like, how terrifying. You know what's fucking terrifying? Gestapo agents knocking down your door and taking you away in the middle of the night, not telling your 8-month pregnant wife where you are, and then entertaining the notion of revoking your green card status. That is actually terrifying. Not, ooh, these guys are banging drums and protesting against an apartheid state, a fucking foreign nation. That's not terrifying. That is expected. That is the right thing to do. And it should happen way more frequently. It should be happening every fucking day. It is insane. Like, what the hell are we doing, man? What is happening? Like, the fact that people even entertain this is psychotic. Dog, I support Palestine, but every country has the right to say who and who cannot be in the country. This is called a democracy, and you may not like it, but it's a fact of life. Every country that does things like this, yes, you fucking moron. You know who else did things like this? Nazi Germany. The fuck are you saying? Oh, you don't understand. Every country has the right to say who and who can't be in the country. You know? Yeah, they did do that, okay? They did that to the fucking Jews in Nazi Germany. The fuck are you saying? Was that appropriate? Do you think that was all right? I'm sure there were plenty of fucking German dumbasses like you, okay? Living in Bavaria going, oh, well, you know, every country has a right to see who has the right to be there. Nice false equivalent. Why is that a false equivalence? Do you have a fucking brain cell that you can rub against another? It's not a false equivalence, you fucking moron. It is a one-to-one analog. Address what I said instead of going, nice false equivalence. When in doubt, pull the Nazi card. Oh my God, you have nothing. You fucking brainlet. You goddamn baboon. Holy shit. Address the argument and explain to me why the exact logical framework that you're operating off of is not a one-to-one application to Nazi Germany. You have nothing. You just resorted to insults? No, I didn't. I resorted to insults when you said nice false equivalence. I gave you a counterexample because I wanted to dignify you with a response, and you had no response. You just said nice false equivalence. Answer my comparison. Address the counterargument that I presented to you. Okay? If you have, it's not a false equivalence, explain why it's a false equivalence then. Explain why it's a false equivalence. You can't just say something is a false equivalence. You have to make an argument. Why are debate pedophiles so bad at debating? Why are debate perverts so fucking bad at debating? Debate pervertry cannot just be, oh, that's an ad hominem and move on. You can't just go, that's a false equivalence and move on. You have to describe why it is a false equivalence. You can't just say it is a false equivalence. Please entertain all of us with your counter. Tell me why it is a false equivalence without going, it's a false equivalence. It's a false equivalence because it's a false equivalence. Okay, that's a tautology. Explain why it is a false equivalence. You can't because you're a moron. You're going back to your fucking sex pestiny chat to try to get some counter narratives here, some counter examples. Quick, guys, give me some examples, please. What is the argument? You literally are seething. Holy shit. America's a democracy. But I'm seething. So you have no argument. You have no counter example as to why it is a false equivalence. All you have is just saying it's false equivalence. That's it? You have no counter examples? You have no reason to claim it's a false equivalence? Now you've just moved the goalpost to you're seething. Lol. People voted for these people to be removed, so they should be removed. It's that simple. That's not how this works, buddy. Okay? I told you that in Nazi Germany, people made the exact same argument. Well, you know, it is what it is. These people actively get to choose who stays in this country and who doesn't. It's also additionally funny to say this because it is deeply unpopular to remove the citizenship status of an American green card holder because they criticize the state of Israel, especially at a time when, you know, sympathies have greatly and dramatically shifted in the favor of Palestinians. I highly doubt that this will be seen as a popular sentiment, but that's not the point right now. You're wrong on that front as well, but you don't even know what you're arguing, Lamau, word salad ass. Zero people think you're making a brilliant point here. You are actively running away like the fucking coward that you are from the immediate retort you had. I dignified you with a response, and I said, why do you think it's a false equivalence? You could not entertain that even for a brief moment, and now you're just trying to pull the ripcord desperately because your brain is stunted, okay? You are both emotionally and intellectually stunted. That's it. Give me a fucking counter example. Tell me why it's a false equivalence. You can't, because it's not a false equivalence. This is projection, by the way. You don't even know what you're arguing for, Lamau. Word salad. Nazi Germany murdered millions of people. How can you possibly compare the two? Oh, dude. Was that what we were talking about? Is that why it's a false equivalence? Nazi Germany murdered millions of people. How can you possibly compare the two? I said that if you are a legal positivist, if you think, well, it's the law is the law, this is what people want. I told you, I gave you a historical example of when something that was truly heinous and truly considered to be an atrocity by today's standards was the law. It's legit. Now you're fucking trying to cry bully and go, it's legit an insult to the 6 million lives lost. Nobody in their right minds thinks modern America is similar to Nazi Germany. No, plenty of people do. It's just not after the final solution. This is before the final solution. But that's not the argument. That is not an adequate response. You are not actually presenting why this is a false equivalence. It's because you can't. But that's besides the point. That's why you had to resort to, it's insulting. That's not an argument. Saying something is insulting is not an argument. Especially when you consider from your framework that that was the law. In Germany, that was the law. You haven't brought a single argument, my guy. You just said Nazi. Okay, well, I think I'm done entertaining fucking this moron. I could literally restate the argument a million times over, and I think it would not penetrate the security barrier that you have up there. It's empty inside, but there's a fucking thick-ass skull. You will never be able to understand the normal human language. It's just not going to happen for you. I can confirm you gave arguments that just went right over his head. I know. Sometimes you just genuinely cannot argue with people who are too stupid to argue. This is one of those instances. It is what it is. And then that person will go back and be like, Hassan hates dissent. Hassan hates dissent. He banned me because he's too afraid of good arguments. No, we're banning you because not only are you fucking too stupid to communicate, okay, but you're also incredibly fucking narcissistic. A real case of Dunning-Kruger where you unironically bit off more than you can chew and were too stupid to understand even the fact that you bit off more than you could chew in this process. The railers will get the belt. Speaking of people you genuinely cannot reason with, what is this? Well, I don't even care about this. Speaking of people you genuinely cannot reason with, Sam SEDER did a Jubilee video, which we will be watching as well, because apparently Sam also did the same thing that I just experienced right here, but in real time against people who actively had no shame and associated their faces and names with some of the stupidest things you've ever heard. Yes, also known as the JUBE. Let's wrap this up and move on.
Khalil's arrest signifies an escalation in President Trump's vow to deport.
I have one critique for Hasanabi. You have a tendency when simplifying your arguments to less informed audiences to make conclusionary statements. What? Okay.
Foreign students
You didn't explain why this is a criticism.
and imprison agitators involved in protests against Israel's war in Gaza. Last week, Columbia University also learned that the Trump administration pulled $400 million in grants and contracts, citing the school's failure to squelch anti-Semitism here on campus. It is unclear where Khalil is being held. His attorney has said he may have been transferred as far as the state of Louisiana. Reporting live from Morningside Heights, Christina Fan, CBS News, New York.
Okay, Christina, thank you. A graduate student at Columbia University arrested by ICE officials for his role in the pro-Palestinian protests taking place on that campus last year.
Now, this comes as the Trump administration is threatening to revoke green cards and visas of those who support Hamas. Let's get right to Good Day's Briella Tomasetti. She is at the Ivy League school this morning with the latest. Briella, good morning.
Tashani and Dan, good morning. This arrest is the first publicly known deportation effort under President Trump's new plan to remove alleged Hamas sympathizers from college campuses.
Alleged Hamas sympathizers. Please, man, what are you guys doing? Like, please have bare minimum basic human decency. Please, I beg of you. Okay? Please, please. Under no circumstances do you have to adopt the framing that this insane right-wing government is deploying here, okay? Holy fuck, dude. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Alleged Hamas sympathizers.
Campuses. Trump has also canceled $400 million in federal grants to Columbia University, quote, due to the school's continued inaction in the face of persistent harassment of Jewish students. Federal immigration authorities arrested Columbia graduate student Mahmoud Khalil at his university-owned apartment over the weekend, doubling down on the Trump administration's promise to crack down on anti-Semitism. Khalil, a permanent U.S. resident with a green card, is a pro-Palestinian activist who played a